Yeah, no, I love it. I think some of the big ambitions are around what I was kind of just talking about, like team and community. I would love to build something similar to what I had in my last role, what I had in previous roles as well. Like building a team that's a true community is something that I really, really value. But above and beyond that, like I just really want to help a lot of folks. And I think the way that I'm approaching it is very scalable. So I think I can.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Kevin, and today we're joined by Liz Connolly. She is the founder of Katsu. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I think prior to the podcast, we were talking about like how long you've been in the coaching industry. And so I would love to get at your origin story, the lore. What made you want to become a coach and more importantly, start a business out of it?
Yeah, we love coaching. So my first business, Trifecta, I started back in 2015. It's a healthy meal delivery company. So the nature of the business isn't necessarily coaching, but we ended up doing just a ton of coaching because we were growing incredibly quickly and we wanted to like level the team up with us. So over the years, I coached literally hundreds of employees, everyone from like the intern to the managers, all the way up to the leadership team and executives. And it was honestly so much fun because everyone was really motivated and excited to learn and grow, which is, I'm sure you're familiar with, like the best case scenario. It's really tough to coach someone who isn't bought in. But we just had, an enormous amount of buy-in at Trifecta. So, I mean, we can dive into like details of how I was coaching and all of that. But it's up to you how you want to.
Kind of curious. It sounds like, okay, you built this kind of like empire at Trifecta. What led to you starting Katsu and just like starting all over again or in a different, on a different project, I guess?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we were at it for almost a decade and I co-founded it with my brother, and we hired a CEO a little bit over a year ago, and we basically both started new companies very recently as well. I tried to take time off. I went to like France and all of this, and I lasted like 2 months. It wasn't going to happen. I'm not good at taking time off. But it was a lot of work growing the business over those years. We always joked like, oh, we have a tiger by the tail. Like you got to hold on. And, that's really how that experience was. It was just like running as fast as we could at all times. So I did crave a break and like something different and some time off. But I realized it was not as much, I didn't need as much balance as maybe I thought I did. So with Katsu, a lot of the drive behind that was helping folks, grow in their careers and as founders. It's funny, when I first started Katsu, I was actually thinking more along the lines of kind of what you're talking about, like that career coaching. And I did what I like to call, like, you're familiar with the 5 whys?
Yep.
Okay. So I do this on steroids and I do like 50 whys. I love doing it. I've done it with a bunch of people, but I do it with myself as well. I think people don't usually get very deep in their like thinking behind things. They think they understand their motivations, but if you really continue to dig and dig and dig way past where you're comfortable digging, you usually come up with like these really good nuggets and a better understanding of your motivations and, I mean, candidly, just your why. So originally I was focused on this more career coaching vibe, and I realized the people that I wanted to help were actually founders just like me. And that's why I started Katsu, was to help those founders, both with like scaling their businesses, with adopting AI, just really a lot of the stuff that early days, literally one of our personas is young Liz, which we joke about, but stuff that early days I struggled with, struggled with delegating, taking, having the team take accountability, like all these little things that you kind of take for granted once you've been doing it a long time. But anyway, so I digress, but that's kind of why I made the leap and started the next company.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing, highlighting some of the challenges that a lot of founders have as well. And I'm sure like there's a lot of different type of founders. Have you kind of like discovered the type of founders you like working with so far? I'm kind of curious about that journey.
Yeah, it's a great question. So what I tend to gravitate towards is like direct to consumer, because that's most of my background. I did, some B2B sales type roles prior to my first company. So I have some experience with that, but I really love the D2C journey. And they run into a lot of the same issues with marketing funnels, with building their teams, with just every kind of little aspect of it kind of comes back to the same place. And margins being squeezed, that's another really big one, because when you're going direct to consumer, they expect really good pricing in a different way than, maybe you can sell something very, very expensive to a business. A lot of people aren't necessarily gonna buy that. So that's been really fun with it. I also kind of love that early stage. So like I was joking about young Liz, that early stage of, you're in the fog and you don't know if the fog is like part of the journey or if you're just like totally lost and confused. And so I think that's a really fun place to work with folks as well, is like, no, keep going, you've got this, along with the actual like tactical help.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. And so what I'm curious about is okay, now that we have an idea of like the type of people that you help and the problems that people are going through, right? Let's talk about the marketing. So what kind of marketing are you currently doing right now? How are clients typically finding you right now?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we're kind of just getting off the ground, but primarily through Meta ads is what we're testing different funnels and different avenues. And then we've started kicking off partnerships as well. So think about any kind of service company that works with a lot of founders, or, a good example would be like I'm in an entrepreneur group called EO, and entrepreneur organization. And basically they work with entrepreneurs across the world. There's thousands and thousands of people in this organization. So like that would be a really good example of a good partner for my company, because they're already connected with all of these founders. And so just getting integrated into that network, obviously opens up this huge new audience for me. But there's, I'll say to anyone, there's endless partners for any type of business. You just have to kind of like think through what makes sense for your business. It's like a similar audience and market, but not necessarily competitive, right? So I wouldn't want to go find a company that's doing exactly what I'm doing and be like, hey, want a partner, right?
And leads me to my other question too. It's like, since you mentioned you're just getting started, I guess, right now, what's kind of working at this stage, and what are some challenges you're noticing at this stage as well?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind for me right now is Paid media is challenging because I don't want to spend a bunch of money. I'm bootstrapping. So it's funny, one of my buddies was like, when are you going to let us invest? And I'm like, I kind of want to figure it out before I take outside capital. So we'll see. But that's been like, I would just say challenging, because the fastest way to test on something like Meta is to pour a bunch of money into it. And I'm not doing that. I'm testing like slowly. So the results are reasonably slow. So that's been challenging. And it's helpful because I am getting like, okay, people resonate with this, not this. So I am getting the results. It's just, I'm used to having a huge team at my disposal. I'm used to having a huge budget. It's this huge stark difference from what I was doing to what I'm doing now. And I love the early days. Don't get me wrong. You can really kind of build your day however you want. I went from like 8-9 hours of meetings a day to now I have maybe 2. It's just wildly different. And that's probably one of the like things that I love the most, is that I kind of have like full autonomy back, which, not to say you lose when you're running a big company, but you just kind of get away from it because you have so many people relying on you for different things. Like if I don't meet with this person, they may not know what direction to go, or they may not be able to make this big decision, that type of thing. So I guess those are kind of the pros and cons.
Differences, like let's say if you had your team from Trifecta working on Katsu, like how would that strategy look differently than now, you think?
Oh, it's such a good question. I mean, I think a lot of the same stuff, just way more, right? So way more, we put out way more videos. We'd work on way more features on our AI Academy. We'd work on, we'd have way more ads and ad types. We'd have way more partnership. Like each piece of the business, we'd just be doing a lot more of it. I don't think we're necessarily like not doing well in any of those areas. It's just because it's early stage. It's slow. It's time consuming. I'm doing a lot of the like heavy lifting and whatnot. So again, it's super fun because there is something really fun about doing the doing instead of just like, hey, this is the direction we want to go, and like making decisions all day. So I do love that. But it does make you slower if you're, not just delegating all day.
Yeah, and also a really interesting thing that you're doing versus like a lot of the other podcast guests that I've talking to, like around your stage, is that a lot of them prefer go organic versus paid media. And so what was kind of the decision to like be like, hey, I'm gonna do meta ads instead of like pump out like LinkedIn videos or YouTube videos or something like that? Like, I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, I think it just comes down to money. People don't want to put the money into it. It's not cheap, and it does take time. What takes even longer is organic. So I'm starting from scratch, right? So with Trifecta, we had tons of partnersps, and they were the star of the show. Some huge athlete with abs, and they're talking about the food, and now a bunch of people go and buy that food, right? With this, I was always behind the scenes before. Now I'm putting myself out there. I do have a YouTube. I have started, social media and all of that. But I'm starting from scratch. So that organic play, it's just it's going to take some time. And I think the ability to add in the paid media just is going to make it faster, essentially. And I know I was talking about it feeling slow, but the only reason it feels slow is because I'm used to like $1 million budgets versus, $100,000, just smaller budgets than I'm used to.
You're doing these meta ads, you're establishing these partnerships. Liz, once people kind of find you, right? Like, what do I guess your coaching engagements kind of look like? Are you doing like one-on-one coaching? Do you have a group like setting? Like, how do you help these founders, I guess, with their challenges?
Yeah, so typically I do a group setting, and the majority, I would say, though, is actually via video in the AI Academy. So I've recorded a ton of these videos of step by step how to, get started with AI, how to get started in business, candidly, how to approach it from a marketing standpoint, how to approach it from, all these different pieces of the puzzle. And I put them in like a very step-by-step walkthrough. And then I give just tons of examples so that people can actually retain and relate to what I'm talking about. Because I think, at least for me, I learn much better when I'm hearing a story and can be like, oh, okay, that's relatable. That's how it went down. That makes sense. I'm not going to make that mistake, or I'll do it that way because, that makes a lot of sense. So most of, our clients are really through that. And I do group coaching and whatnot as well. And I really enjoy the live coaching. It's super fun. It's just not quite as scalable as the videos. But I learned so much in those group coaching settings. So, what problems are people up against? What are they thinking about on a day-to-day? Because again, it's been 10 years since I was in the early days the first time. So it is different, going through it the second time. There's new challenges, and also some of the old ones that I would have thought like, oh, no problem, this will be great, are actually challenging again, which is hilarious. But yeah, it's I get a lot of learnings out of that, just as much as I think they're getting out of it too, which is kind of cool.
I'm very curious because it sounds like you have a group coaching aspect, but then you have your AI Academy. How do you present your kind of like main offers, or what kind of main offers do you kind of have? Do you like tier it out for like Academy only, or do you have different tiers? I'm kind of curious what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. So the kind of, we go even further of like, we give away we have a couple PDFs that are like playbooks. So we have, 15 AI use cases for founders, like things like that, where we're just giving them away for free to kind of provide some value for the audience. But above and beyond that, once they actually join the AI Academy, they can just do that if they want. And then if they want to actually like spend time with me and a group of peers, then that's kind of the next tier up. It's a pretty significant jump. So, I understand that not everybody's going to be able to do that, but that kind of works out as well because I don't have the time to do that with everyone. So,
and I would love one of the things I'm also very curious about is so one of the trends I've seen on this podcast is that a lot of coaches actually struggle with things like pricing and pricing strategy. And of course, you don't need to give any hard numbers, but I'm kind of curious, how did you come up or structure with your pricing, or what are your thoughts about certain pricing strategies? Because, some coaches, they think about like, oh, I'll do hourly, and then they freaking hate it. Or then they do like a project-based, value-based, retain. There's just so many different models, right? And so I'm kind of curious which ones you've kind of gravitated to.
Yeah, well, I think you hit on something important there. Like, structure it around something you're going to like, of course. That's part of the reason I like the group setting is I just know I'm going to not have time to do a ton of one-on-one stuff. And so that literally has never been an offer that I have even given because I know I just am not capable, nor do I think I would love it because I would only be able to have like a couple clients, right? So I think structuring it in a way that works for you and that gives you the life that you want is super important. The other thing, so, thinking through like how much is it costing you to acquire a customer versus how much are you actually charging that customer? That's, obviously business basics 101, but like that's where a lot of people go wrong is it costs them more or just as much to get a customer as they actually make on the customer. And that just leaves you feeling like, wow, I just spun my wheels. I spent all this time and effort and money and everything. And like, I'm kind of where I started. And so I think thinking that through is really important. Something that I think can work really well early on is let's say you want to do that where you're spending as much on a customer to get them in, just to get started, as you're actually making on them. That's okay to like get started. You have to start somewhere. But if you're really like proof of concept, proving out your business model, at some point, you need to be making significantly more on that customer than you're paying to get them to start. So I think that's really crucial. Or having some sort of, the other really common one, especially in coaching, is some sort of like really major upsell that, only a few % of folks need to actually buy, but then, you make way, way, way more on that offer. So kind of like the group coaching example, for example's sake, let's say I don't make any money on the AI Academy, but I actually make all my money on the group coaching, then that's like a very common setup. But I think there's so many offers that you can give people, and you just have to be willing to try and test and see. It's also really I've never done this, but I'll just say it's very popular to try an offer as like a pre-sale or a trial or something like that, just to see if people will sign up. I don't know if you've ever experienced something like that, but you can do that to kind of gauge before you go out and build this new thing or spend a bunch of time planning or whatever it may be. All you do is like build a landing page, see if they'll give you their email or pay $50 or whatever it may be. Again, I've never done it. I guess we did sales for Trifecta, but that was for 3 weeks. Like it wasn't very long. It was just to like get a little bit of traction before we started making these meals. So I think that can be a really cool route, but again, I'm not speaking from experience on that one, so I can't give too many details.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really good point. You're talking about like what feels good to you and why you didn't want to give like one-on-one. And it's really interesting. Like there's so many school of thoughts, right? Like even with my former clients, right, or friends, like one of my clients, Ali Abdal, right, at one point, he's like a lifestyle guy, and he really loves like, I just want to do what feels good. Whereas I talked to my friend Chris Doe from the future, and he's like, Kevin, what's your like FU money amount? Just charge that, even if you hate it. And then I'm like, dude, you are a total mercenary, man. I can't do that. I would have so much resentment toward myself. But it's really interesting to see where on that scale you kind of fall. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, well, I think you're so right. Like people do fall on different sides of the spectrum and at different times of their life too, I've had conversations with my husband where he's like, I don't care what I'm doing. Like, I just want to make a lot of money. And then I've also had conversations with him where he's like, I love doing this. You pay me $0 and I would keep doing this. And so I think neither one is right or wrong. And I think we shouldn't demonize like wanting to make money. Like that's important to a lot of folks. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great if you can combine what you love and making money. That's the like main goal of everyone, wants, but it's not, the end all be all. There's a lot of ways to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a quick question before we move on to our next one. Do you feel like early Liz, like maybe pre-Trifecta would probably be like, have a different answer?
It's so funny. I actually didn't. I've been like this forever. I don't know why. I'm sure there's something in my upbringing, but I just never, even, at times when I was making more money than I knew what to do with, it wasn't the thing. Like, I wasn't like, oh, how am I going to spend this? What car am I going to get? What am I, it just doesn't, it doesn't do it for me. And I really, really value the day to day and enjoying what I'm doing. Something that I've loved pretty much my whole life also is the community that I get out of work is so important to me. Like these people become some of my closest friends, and I've been super lucky to have that in my current role, at my last role, all my previous like sales jobs, even before starting companies. Like I just had these really great communities and great people that I was around. And like, that's it for me. I'm like, cool. I've got everything I could possibly want. I get to hang out with cool people and we get to do important things and help people. Like, what else is there?
Yeah. You know what? I kind of fall on that very similar spectrum too. Like, I've never been. It's kind of funny. Like, even when I was when I was doing like sales, like pretty heavily, I was never motivated by money. I just love the conversations and stuff. And I was weird because like sales managers would be like, "How much money you want to make?" I'm like, I mean, money is kind of important, right, but it's like not the end all be all. Like the extrinsic motivation is not a big thing for me. But it leads me to my next question actually too, because I'm very curious. Like, as you're getting Katsu like up and running, right? I guess where do you want this coaching? Where do you want this like business to take you in the next few years? Do you have any like secret dreams, big ambition no one knows about? Like, what's your vision, I guess, over the next few years?
Ooh, yeah, no, I love it. I think some of the big ambitions are around what I was kind of just talking about, like team and community. I would love to build something similar to what I had in my last role, what I had in previous roles as well. Like building a team that's a true community is something that I really, really value. But above and beyond that, like I just really want to help a lot of folks. And I think the way that I'm approaching it is very scalable. So I think I can. And I think, yeah, I don't know, because it's my second time around, like a huge part of it is very Ali Abdaal, like you were talking about. Like, I really want to enjoy it and have fun with it and just kind of not be like a stress ball like I was the first time around. I think I tried to manage the stress of growing a company that quickly, but at the same time, I, went through years of not sleeping well. I had, anxiety attacks. It was a struggle at the same time. And so as much as I love the, go as hard as possible, I'm trying to take it down like a notch from that, just like a little, so that I'm really not a big balance person, but then I can be like a little bit balanced and not have those kind of, extreme back pain for 10 years or whatever it may be. Like, that's not necessary at this point.
It reminds me of one of Ali's favorite books too, like at the time, like for building culture, was like, it doesn't have to be crazy at work. And it's like by the founders of like Basecamp and stuff like that. And like, it's kind of like the anti-silicon, like anti-hustle bro mentality and stuff. I thought that was really interesting. But
I haven't I'll have to write it down. I'm a big reader.
I'll send you the name after and stuff too. But
I mean, to be clear, I love the hustle. I just think I didn't like put my health first, and so I think there's like, the hierarchy of needs. Let's make sure we got the health and then let's hustle. Right. So that's just a kind of a mental model shift that I've made over the years.
Self actualization doesn't matter if you're like dead. So like,
yeah.
All right. And so like, as you're thinking about, one of the things that you're saying is like, you just want to help a lot of people. And as you have this vision, what are some like challenges that you're kind of noticing in your business right now? Maybe like some things that people wouldn't be able to see outside looking in?
Let's see. One of the first thing that comes to mind for me is I did have a co-founder the first time around, and I have not done that this time. Not to say that I still won't, because it's possible. But I didn't jump into that with anyone, and so it is quite a bit more lonely than I'm used to. I'm used to having someone by my side in the trenches 100% of the time. We're going to win no matter what, no thought of quitting, any of that. Like, I didn't realize how motivating that was. Like, I do think I took it for granted a little bit of like somebody is there at all times, also working as hard as I am and caring as much as I do. Like, that's really special. And I think that goes for a lot of folks starting companies, that if they don't have that, it can be, it just makes it harder. It's like single parenting or something, not to make a terrible example, but it is kind of like that, where it's like, you can do it. It's going to be harder though, it's definitely not going to be the same. So that's something that I'm working through and learning a lot about. And I think, all I can say is that I might at some point take on a co-founder, because it's just like, if I'm going to be focused on the journey, then that would absolutely make the journey more enjoyable, I think.
Your previous business at Trifecta, did you say your brother was your co-founder in the past?
Yeah. Yep.
How do you feel like, because that's your own family and that's your brother, right? Like, how do you feel like...
Are you going to ask, how is it working with your sibling?
Kind of.
This question I've gotten asked like 500 times.
But kind of like, I don't know, because I don't think you've had another co-founder outside of your brother. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of curious how that experience is different than like someone who you're not related to or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, I can only speculate, because yes, I haven't had any a co-founder outside of that, but with a sibling, there's like this unparalleled trust, because you've known this person. I mean, for me, I'm the younger sibling, so I've known him since birth, right? And then I think there's like a lot of communication that comes really easily, because you've been practicing communicating for your whole life as well. So, I mean, one of our first hires, this is a very real story. This actually happened. We're sitting and interviewing her in like the main room, because there's not really like a ton of office space in our first place. And we look at each other at the end, and no words are spoken. We just look into each other's eyes, and then we offer her the job, because we knew, like, based on the look that we gave each other, that we were both in on this person, which is crazy. Like, you can't do that with a normal person. So there was a lot of stuff like that. And then above and beyond that, I would imagine co-founders disagree a decent amount, maybe not, but I would guess that is part of the journey. And for us, when we did, even if we were real mad at each other, 5 minutes go by and it's like, you want to grab lunch? Like, like we were just so quick to bounce back, so quick to forgive, so quick to not make it a big deal type thing, because there's just there's something about history, I think, that just goes a really long way. So that's part of what I've been thinking about with potentially having a co-founder, is like, who do I have enough history with that it would be that easy relationship where it doesn't take like a ton of, learning about each other to then get to this comfort level where I can pick up the phone and call you at any time, or, that type of thing. And I don't know, do you have a co-founder?
No, for my businesses, no, I do not. None of the businesses.
Okay.
Maybe like when I first started, I actually had like a family protein business back in the day. Like, this is many years ago. It was one of
cool.
my first ones with my brother. But yeah, that's why I was like so curious about like your experience actually like having a co-founder that scaled a
Yeah.
big business too. It's not like a small business, you know what I mean? So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, we definitely we had our ups and downs, but we just like I think the bounce back rate of us after an argument was one of our saving graces. Is like I just agree to disagree, and then we're like, okay, so should we grab some wine or like it was just so quick to move on. Or I'm making it sound like we were just messing around all the time, but it was also like, oh, okay, let's go into this meeting and act totally normal because that's just how we were. There were scenarios where people didn't know we were related because we would just talk just like business associate. So yeah, I don't know. It was definitely something special. I'll give it that.
now one of the interesting things that you're saying was like the hiring process with that person and the implicit communication that you guys
Hmm.
gave each other from those years and years and years of probably like fighting as kids or something like that. I want to move on to the next segment and play a game with you. This is through the
Sure.
eyes of business investments because, as you know, like coaches, people, any business owner, they invest into like training, coaching, marketing, other team members, like you mentioned, right? A lot of different things. And so I'm kind of curious about your stories about business investments. So I'm going to prompt you 4 different phrases. You just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. And if there's a story, tell me a short story behind it too. Okay?
Okay. Love
All
it.
right. First business investment you remember making.
Ooh, I want to say it might have been Demand Force was one of my jobs, like really, really young, right out of college. And when we got acquired by Intuit, I feel like we were able to buy extra stock or RSUs or something like that. And yeah, I dived right into it because I really believed in the company and the people, and I was just like so excited to be a part of it. Fun fact, like almost all of the cultural stuff that we implemented at Trifecta was completely stolen from Demand Force. It was like carbon copy. I just was like, this is the freaking greatest. And it was a San Francisco based business. So of course, it was a blast. And we just copied a ton of it and it made it so fun. Like one of my favorites was like Spirit Days where we would dress up. The amount of dress up days we did over the last decade, it was so fun though. It just like, like work should be a fun place to be. It doesn't have to be a dress up day every day, but like once a month or once every few months, like that's so fun. And just the camaraderie that comes out of that. And I'm sorry, I know you're trying to make these quick, but
No, I just love the human aspect of like dress up days and stuff like that. That's hilarious.
yeah, I mean, like I have like hilarious stories where people are like, "Oh yeah, I walked into the interview and then you walked in a leprechaun outfit." And they're like, "What in the actual?" And
That's hilarious.
I'm like, "Yeah, that tracks. That sounds like me."
All right, let's get into the next phrase. Last business investment you made.
Oh, let's see. I mean, probably on myself, realistically, into Katsu. Yeah.
Anything specific that comes into mind? Was it like an ad? Did you hire or like?
Yeah. I mean, I have a small team, and then I also, I'm running ads, and the most sizable one is I've been working with. You'll laugh at this. My other brother helped me actually build the infrastructure behind the AI Academy. So everything from like connecting it up to my Shopify to actually building the like course platform to the UI, like all these different pieces of the puzzle. I'm not a developer. So I really just kind of gave him the vision and he built it. And so that was a little bit of an investment, even though he gave me a homie hookup because he's a brother.
I love that. Okay.
I can't help but work with family. I don't know. They're all awesome.
Yeah, all this time I thought you just had one brother, but this time you have like, how many siblings?
I also have a sister who's still at Trifecta, which is a sister. So yeah, we're all very, very close. We all live in Davis. I mean, like my family is literally houses away in Davis. So it's kind of his.
Don't tell me that first hire was your like sister though. That'd been pretty funny.
No, that would have been that. No, the story is actually, it was our social media manager and technically when she started, she was, intern level, but I remember we asked her like what Disney princess she would be because she had worked at Disney prior to this, and she said Sleeping Beauty, and we were like, what? Like, that is so weird. Like, pick one that does some cool shit. And she said Sleeping Beauty, and I just remember us laughing so hard, and we were like, this chick's gonna fit in great. Like, she's hysterical.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah, because I think about like most people's answers and like Cinderella or like Mulan or whatever, right? Like type of princess. But you chose Sleeping Beauty. That's freaking hilarious.
Well, I think if you have like, a reason, that makes it all better. But like just throwing out just Sleeping Beauty, oh man, we cracked up. Good times.
Okay. Best business investment you made?
Ooh. I mean, it's hard to say anything but into myself. Because I really do believe in investing in yourself, whether it's learning or, conferences or whatever else. I think that is really, really important. But let me try to think outside the box.
Yeah, when you say investing into yourself, like I find that people like when I do this podcast, I find that people mean different things, right? Like, the opportunity cost of like, there could have been path A where you make a crap ton more money, and then path B of starting a new project and starting all over again, right? That's like one thing people think about. Yeah. Other people think about, I did this coaching program, whatever, right? But like kind of curious what investing into yourself means from your lens.
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. I mean, I think, I've had a few wonderful mentors over the years that like changed the trajectory of my life, including my co-founder at Trifecta. He was very much a mentor to me. He's 6 years older than me. So, and had, that was my first business, and he had several businesses prior to that. So, that I think is super, super important, whether you're paying for it or you are able to have a mentor just in somebody that really knows a lot about the thing you're trying to learn. I'm a big book and Audible type person. So we used to joke, like, we have an unlimited learning budget. And I genuinely mean it. Like, I will not hesitate to download a book. I will not hesitate to, get a course online, whatever it may be, because I do believe that sets you apart. It's how fast can you learn and then implement that thing. One of my favorite things about learning that quickly while the business was growing that quickly is I was able to like immediately implement like everything I'm learning. I'm always immediately implementing because I'm touching every part of the business. And so I think that's really fun when you're in, fast growth. And I'm trying to think other things in terms of investing in yourself. I mean, small stuff like, I was 25 when I started my first business, and I was wearing like yoga pants to work and stuff like that. And at some point I decided to invest in an adult wardrobe. That seems like a stupid small thing, but yeah, people are going to look at you differently. And, I remember having board meetings where one of my board members was like, "Oh, you look comfortable." Like he was clearly like, "What the hell are you wearing?" Like you're wearing shorts to a board meeting.
The unicorn outfit again.
So I think there's just so many aspects about yourself that you can invest in. I've had tutors as an adult where I'm like, I really need to learn this like financial modeling. And so I'm literally going to have someone sit down with me and teach it to me over several hours. there's just so much to learn, especially as an entrepreneur, especially as a coach, that you really can't sleep on it. Like you gotta be moving at all times and trying to learn and learn and learn, because it's just going to make you so much better at what you're doing. Yeah.
Worst business investment that you kind of wish you got your money back from?
Ooh, that's a great question. Let's see. What have I done? You can cut out the wait time on this, because I really have to think. Nothing's coming to my mind right away. Oh, you know what's one? And I think this is like vague enough that it's very anonymous. I did have someone that I mentored briefly. He basically had asked my brother to mentor him, and my brother kind of like almost pawned him off on me, which I was excited for the opportunity because it was early days. So this wasn't something people were asking me for yet. And I think we just like did not ever connect on what he would value out of our relationship and what I could bring to the relationship. So it just kept being like, we didn't have that many meetings, but we had like a handful where it was just, neither of us were like getting a lot out of it. And as much as I like was, I was trying, but I just couldn't figure out like what he needed or what he wanted from me. And technically I didn't invest, but like he gave me shares for that, for my time. And so in a way I kind of did. And eventually we were both just like, this isn't like, we're wasting our time. But it was interesting. I feel like maybe I was a little too early on, but there was also an aspect from him where he was like too good for it, maybe. And so he wasn't, kind of back to what I started with, like when I was saying, it's really wonderful to have people who are open to coaching and excited and driven and want it, because I have had those circumstances where they don't, and it's painful. I don't know if you've experienced it, but it is painful.
Kind of like vibe. But do you feel like if your brother mentored this guy, I know he pawned him off onto you, but do you feel like it would have been, knowing your brother, do you feel like it would have been a different relationship?
Potentially. It's hard to say. I think potentially. It's so hard to know though, because I just never we didn't meet enough for me to like really get to know the guy. It was like a handful of times. So yeah.
Yeah, and as we're like sharing these stories, like I'm kind of curious, how has your decision making process changed in what to invest in or what not to invest in over the years? If you're taking like your 25-year-old self and you present day, how do you guys make decisions?
Yes. Yeah, I think, so back to kind of like the meta ads example, I truly think like starting a business with meta ads is not the best idea. That's why I'm really not putting a ton of time, effort, and money into it. And I do put much more of my money towards the people in my company, the strategy, mentorship, like all of those pieces of the puzzle, I think deserve a lot more effort. Even, partnerships is another good example. A partnership is going to be so much more valuable than me putting another $100 into Meta. And I think I just had no idea early days of my last business what to invest in necessarily. I just knew like, I think I just knew like hard work works, and I'm not mad about that, but I over-indexed on that because I was really not the best at delegating, not the best at holding people accountable. So I just was like, well, I'll just work all weekend and all night, and I'll just keep working and working and working, and obviously it served me because we did really well. But at the same time, like, my God, some of those people could have done a little extra work and I could have had an hour off on the weekend.
Which leads me to my last segment or question. As business owners, entrepreneurs, there's a lot of advice out there. And I'm sure you've been given a lot of advice too over the years. And so I'm kind of curious, what's your most overrated piece of advice that you've gotten? And what's the most underrated piece of advice that you've gotten over the years?
Well, I'll start with underrated. And I don't actually know who said this. For all I know, it could have been like a motivational YouTube video or something. But the fog is part of the journey, I think, is so valuable, because it is really hard to keep going when you don't know the next step, or you're not sure if you're on the right track, or this is the right strategy, or something's not working, or, you're running out of money, which is super common with young businesses. I think the fog is part of the journey. It just helps you remember, like, okay, a lot of people are still trying to figure it out. A lot of businesses have been through this. I mean, I think that really hits home for me at various times in my life, and not just in relation to business. But let's see, overrated. I don't know. I think maybe this is more of a pet peeve, but I'll say it anyway. I know a decent amount of people that do not try to figure things out for themselves or critically think. They just ask right away. Their first inclination is to ask for help. And I think asking for help, by the way, is super important. But maybe you should try to figure it out first, because that's how you start to develop those skills. If you're just asking and always getting the question answered and, that's your mode, I think that's just it's selling yourself short, and you really just don't learn as much. So again, I think asking is super important, but I think giving it a shot also is really important.
That's really interesting, because I can imagine periods where certain relationships where they're just I guess asking for advice all the time without even having, like you said, giving it a shot by yourselves. It builds this weird codependent relationship sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Liz.
But yeah, the fog is part of the journey. That's so my best one, especially right now, as I'm starting something new right off, something that is very, very well established. It's been kind of my mantra.
Well, Liz, how do people find you and connect with you?
So my website is learnkatsu.com. That's kind of the main place. And then I'm also on YouTube. We could put that in the show notes, because I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's just Liz Connolly, but I'm too new to have it memorized. Would love to connect and help any founders out there that are looking for that type.
And Katsu, it's spelled with a K, right?
It's Katsu.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Liz, I really enjoyed this conversation, because it's really interesting seeing you take this path of okay, I built this huge business with Trifecta, and then I'm going to do this new thing, and I'm going to run meta ads and stuff, and how you're kind of embracing that last quote that you're talking about, the fog is part of the journey. So I really appreciate the work that you do, and I really appreciate you just sharing your experience on this podcast as well. So thank you so much, Liz.
Same. Thanks for having me.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.